It was Christmas Eve, and the air was thick with the scent of pine and the warmth of the fireplace. The house buzzed with the usual holiday cheer, my relatives' laughter echoing through the rooms, mingling with the clinking of glasses and the soft murmur of holiday music. I had arrived late, as always, my boots leaving a trail of snow from the front door to the living room where everyone was gathered. As I hung my coat on the rack, my eyes were drawn to the large, glossy portrait hanging above the fireplace. It was a new edition, framed with care and hung with pride. The whole family was there, smiling back at me from the frame. My mother, in her festive green dress, looked radiant, her eyes crinkling with genuine joy. My father, his usual stern expression softened by the holiday spirit, stood beside her, his hand resting on her shoulder. My brother, the golden child, was front and center, his smile wide and confident, his posture perfect. But there was something missing. Or rather, someone, bitim. I stepped closer, my heart sinking as I realized the truth. My face had been cropped out of the family portrait, not just blurred or pushed to the side, but completely removed, as if I had never been part of this family. The edges were clean, the removal intentional, like a digital artist had meticulously erased me from our family history. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few seconds, long enough for the initial shock to give way to a dull ache in my chest. Dinner was almost ready. My mother called from the kitchen, her voice carrying the same warmth that filled the room, oblivious to the cold realization that had just washed over me. I muttered a quick hello, my voice sounding foreign even to my own ears, and stepped into the kitchen. My brother was there, swirling wine in a glass, his laughter filling the space as he recounted some story from his latest adventure. He greeted me with an air kiss, close enough to register the gesture, but far enough to avoid any real contact. "You made it," he said, as if this was his house, and I was late to an event I hadn't been invited to. I didn't reply, just smiled a smile that didn't reach my eyes. The kind you give when you've already screamed into a pillow 3 times that month and decided it wasn't worth wasting your voice. Dinner was the usual performance, my father carving the roast with the precision of a surgeon, my mother complimenting my brother's new haircut, and no one, not a single soul, asking how I was, what I'd been up to, or where I was living now. The only question I got was whether I still drove that old car, which was code for, "We have no idea what's going on in your life, and we're hoping you'll fill in the blanks so we can pretend we care." But I didn't fill in the blanks. Instead, I watched the scene unfold, feeling like an outsider in what was supposed to be my home, the weight of the envelope in my coat pocket growing heavier with each passing moment. Dinner passed in a blur of holiday cheer and polite conversation, the kind that skims the surface of life, never diving deep enough to touch the real issues. I excused myself after dessert, claiming fatigue, and my mother offered me the guest room. Not my room, not your old room, just the guest room. I shut the door behind me, the weight of the evening settling in like a heavy fog. The room was as impersonal as any hotel, beige sheets, a dusty bookshelf, and one lamp that flickered if you breathed too close to it. I sat on the edge of the bed, the envelope in my hand. It was thick, made of ivory paper with an embossed seal, something official, something that felt like it could change everything. I had thought about giving it to them in the morning, after the stockings, after the cinnamon rolls, after the performance of a perfect family. But standing in that living room, looking at that photo, seeing my entire existence airbrushed out like a glitch in the family algorithm, I changed my mind. I turned the envelope over in my hands, the weight of it feeling like the weight of all the years they had ignored me, erased me. They didn't just forget me, they had strategically, carefully deleted me from their lives, like I was a bad brand partnership. That night I lay in bed, listening to the house settle around me. The same creaky floorboards, the same ticking wall clock in the hall, my father's snoring, my mother's voice drifting up once, something about bringing out the good plates tomorrow. My brother laughed in that practiced, breathy way of his, the soundtrack of the golden child. I closed my eyes, and thoughts of the past flooded in. The time I got into my dream law school, and they said, "We're so proud," before immediately asking if I could defer a year to help my brother with his business venture. The time I missed rent and called home, and my father said, "Things are tight right now," while planning a cruise for my brother's birthday. The time I brought home a girlfriend, and they forgot her name at dinner. She never came back. I didn't blame her. I was tired of telling myself I was just sensitive, tired of pretending I misunderstood. That night, lying in a bed that was supposed to feel familiar but didn't, I stopped making excuses. Tomorrow, I would give them the envelope. I wouldn't yell, wouldn't cry, wouldn't even raise my voice. I would just smile, say, "Merry Christmas," and watch the truth do what years of silence never could. I woke up to the smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls, the faint sound of my brother's voice complaining about the weight limits for his luggage. The irony, of course, was that he wasn't the one paying for his travel or his luggage or the shoes inside the suitcase that cost more than my monthly rent. But yes, devastating stuff. Prayers up. I stayed in the guest room a little longer than necessary, not because I was still tired, but because I wasn't in the mood to walk back into the sitcom set that was my family's idea of Christmas. When I finally wandered into the kitchen, my mother was plating scrambled eggs like she was auditioning for a brunch spread in a lifestyle magazine. My father sat at the table scrolling through his phone, and my brother was barefoot, sipping almond milk from a wine glass. "Good morning," my mother said, not looking up. "Hope you slept okay in the guest room." "The mattress has a personality," I said, pouring myself some coffee. She laughed, thinking I was joking. But I wasn't. After breakfast, the house was a flurry of activity. My mother was orchestrating the opening of presents with the precision of a conductor, directing my brother to pass out the gifts. I sat on the couch, coffee in hand, watching the scene unfold. My father was still absorbed in his phone, occasionally glancing up to offer a half-hearted "Merry Christmas" to the room. When the last gift was handed out, I stood up, the envelope feeling like a grenade in my pocket. "I have something for you," I said, my voice steady, surprising even myself. My mother looked up, her eyes bright with anticipation, probably expecting some thoughtful, yet impersonal, gift. I took the envelope from my pocket and handed it to my father first, then my mother. "Don't open it now," I instructed, my tone leaving no room for argument. They exchanged a look, my mother's face a mix of curiosity and confusion, my father's annoyance at being interrupted from his digital world. But curiosity got the better of them. My father opened the envelope, pulling out the thick, legal-looking document. His eyes scanned the paper, his expression shifting from confusion to shock to anger. My mother, sensing the change, leaned in to read over his shoulder, her face paled, her hand going to her mouth. "What is this?" my father demanded, his voice rising. "It's a document that proves I have legal rights to the family property," I said, my voice calm but firm. "The property you've been managing without telling me about my share." The room fell silent, the only sound the crackling of the fire. My brother looked between us, his usual smirk replaced by a frown. "This is ridiculous," my father said, his voice now a growl. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I do, actually," I replied. "I've done my research. This property was left to me by Grandma, and you've been hiding it from me for years." My mother started to cry, her hands shaking as she held the document. We thought it was best for the family," she stammered out. "Best for the family?" I echoed, my voice rising now. "Best for the family was to erase me from the family portrait? To pretend I don't exist?" My brother finally spoke up. "So what? You're going to sue us now? Take our home?" "It's not just your home," I said, my voice steady again. "It's part mine, and I'm not here to sue anyone. I'm here to confront the truth. You've all been living a lie, and I'm tired of being the punchline." My father stood up, his face red. "You come in here on Christmas with this betrayal? After all we've done for you? All you've done for me?" I laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "You've done nothing but ignore me, belittle me, and now you've literally erased me from our family history. This isn't about money or property. It's about respect, about acknowledging my existence." My mother reached out, her hand trembling. "Please, let's talk about this. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I said, my voice softening. "You can't undo years of neglect with a conversation. This document is just the beginning. I'm not here to take anything away. I'm here to reclaim what's rightfully mine. And maybe, just maybe, to make you see me." The room was heavy with tension, the air thick with unspoken words and years of suppressed emotions. My father sat back down, his face a mask of anger and defeat. My mother was still crying, her mascara running down her cheeks. My brother looked lost, his eyes darting between us as if he was trying to find an escape route. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling in. I didn't want it to come to this, I said, more to myself than to them. But sometimes the truth has to be revealed, even if it's on Christmas Day. The room was silent, the air thick with the weight of the confrontation. My father's face was set in a scowl, his eyes not meeting mine. My mother's tears continued to fall, her hand still covering her mouth as if to hold back words she was too afraid to speak. My brother, usually so full of himself, looked like a deflated balloon, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I'm not here to ruin Christmas," I said, breaking the silence. But I couldn't keep this to myself any longer. "You've all been living in denial, and I've been living in the shadows of your perfect family narrative." My father finally looked up, his voice low and menacing. "You think you can just walk in here and demand your share? After all these years?" "I'm not demanding anything," I replied, my voice steady. "I'm reclaiming what's mine, what you've been hiding from me. This isn't about greed, it's about justice." My mother stood up, her voice shaky. "Can't we discuss this? We're family. We can work this out." I shook my head. "This isn't something you discuss over coffee and cinnamon rolls. This is about years of deceit. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to make you see the truth." The room was tense, the silence now filled with the unspoken reality of our fractured family. My brother, who had been silent for most of the exchange, finally spoke. "You know, this isn't just about property. This is about you never being here, never being part of the family." I turned to him, my voice calm but firm. "I wasn't part of the family because you all made it clear I wasn't wanted. You erased me from the family portrait, remember? That was your doing, not mine." He looked away, unable to meet my gaze. My mother's sobs were now quiet, her eyes red and swollen. "We didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "But you did," I said, the pain in my voice unmistakable. "Every time you ignored me, every time you chose him over me, every time you pretended I wasn't here." My father stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "You think you can just come in here and disrupt everything? You're not taking our home." "It's not just your home," I said, my voice rising. "It's part mine, and I'm not here to take it away. I'm here to make you acknowledge it. Acknowledge me." The room was heavy with the weight of years of unspoken grievances. My mother reached out, her hand trembling. "Please, let's not do this. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I said, my voice softening. "You can't undo years of neglect with a conversation. This document is just the beginning. I'm not here to take anything away. I'm here to reclaim what's rightfully mine. And maybe, just maybe, to make you see me." The tension was palpable, the air thick with the weight of the moment. My father sat back down, his face a mask of anger and defeat. My mother was still crying, her mascara running down her cheeks. My brother looked lost, his eyes darting between us as if he was trying to find an escape route. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling in. "I didn't want it to come to this," I said, more to myself than to them. But sometimes the truth has to be revealed, even if it's on Christmas Day. The room was silent, the only sound the ticking of the clock in the hall, counting down the moments of this fractured Titty family's holiday. I stood up, the envelope now back in my pocket, feeling lighter somehow. "I'll be in touch with my lawyer," I said, my voice firm. "We can do this amicably, or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours." As I turned to leave, my mother's voice stopped me. "Please don't go like this. Stay for Christmas." I paused, looking back at them. "I'm not leaving. I'm just stepping out of your perfect family picture. Maybe when you're ready to see me, really see me, we can try again." With that, I walked out of the room, leaving behind the remnants of a family that had forgotten how to be one. The door closed softly behind me, the sound echoing through the house like a final note in a symphony of broken chords. I stepped out into the cold winter air, the chill a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere inside. The snow was falling gently, blanketing the world in a fresh start, but I knew that inside the storm was far from over. I walked down the street, my breath visible in the crisp air, my mind replaying the confrontation. I found myself at a small park, the swings empty, the playground deserted. Sitting on a bench, I watched as the snowflakes danced in the wind, each one unique, each one fleeting. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from my lawyer confirming the next steps. I ignored it, needing this moment of solitude to process everything. The park was quiet, the only sound the soft crunch of snow under my feet as I walked to the swings. I sat down, the cold metal biting through my jeans, but I didn't mind. It was grounding, real. I pushed off the ground, letting the swing carry me back and forth, a simple, repetitive motion that seemed to clear my mind. I thought about my family, about the years of feeling invisible, about the document that was now my lifeline to acknowledgement. It wasn't about the money or the property. It was about being recognized, about being part of something I was born into but never truly felt part of. As I swung, the world around me blurred, and for a moment, I was a child again, carefree and unaware of the complexities of family dynamics. But reality soon settled back in, the cold reminding me of the present. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from my mother. "Please come back. We need to talk." I stared at the screen, the words blurring with the snow. After a long moment, I typed back, "I'm at the park. If you want to talk, come here." Minutes passed, the snow now covering my footprints. Then I saw them, my mother and father, walking toward me, their figures small against the vast white landscape. They approached cautiously, as if unsure of their welcome. My mother sat down next to me on the swing, her face still red from crying. My father stood behind us, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. "We've been talking," my mother began, her voice trembling. We didn't realize how much we've hurt you." I looked at her, the swing slowing to a stop. "It's not just about the property. It's about years of feeling like I didn't matter." My father finally spoke, his voice low. "We made mistakes. We've been blind to your pain." I nodded, the acknowledgement a small balm to years of wounds. "I don't want to take anything away from you. I just want to be seen, to be part of this family." "We know," my mother said, reaching out to touch my hand. "We're willing to work on this, to make amends." But I looked between them, seeing the sincerity in their eyes, the regret. "It won't be easy," I said, my voice firm. "But maybe, just maybe, we can start over." My father nodded, his face softening. "We'd like that. We want you back." The snow continued to fall, each flake a promise of change. We sat there, a family trying to mend, trying to find a way forward through the cold, through the pest, towards a new beginning. As we walked back to the house, I felt a cautious hope. The road ahead would be long, filled with conversations and confrontations, but for the first time, I felt like I wasn't walking it alone. Back at the house, the atmosphere had changed. The tension was still there, but it was now mixed with a tentative hope. My mother had made a pot of hot chocolate, the steam rising like a peace offering. My brother, still visibly shaken, sat at the kitchen table, his eyes following us as we entered. We all sat down, the silence awkward but necessary. My father cleared his throat, his voice rough with emotion. "We've been talking, and we want to make things right." I nodded, the hot chocolate warming my hands. "It's going to take time. Trust isn't rebuilt in a day." My mother reached out, her hand covering mine. "We know, but we're committed. We want to do better for all of us." My brother finally spoke, his voice quiet. "I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I didn't see." I looked at him, seeing the genuine regret in his eyes. It's not just about understanding. It's about acknowledging and changing. The room was quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the refrigerator. My father took a deep breath. "We'll start by recognizing your share in the property. We'll work with your lawyer to make it official." "And beyond that?" I asked, needing more than just legal acknowledgement. "We'll include you in family decisions," my mother said. "We'll make sure you're part of everything." I sipped my hot chocolate, the warmth spreading through me. "And the family portrait?" My father looked down, then back up, meeting my gaze. "We'll get a new one where everyone is included." The conversation continued, each word a step towards healing. We talked about the past, about the mistakes, about the pain, but we also talked about the future, about how we could move forward together. It wasn't just about the property anymore. It was about rebuilding trust, about redefining what family meant to us. As the evening wore on, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a cautious camaraderie. We laughed at old memories, shared stories, and even made plans for a family vacation, something we hadn't done in years. When it was time to leave, my mother hugged me tightly, her tears now ones of relief rather than sorrow. "Thank you for giving us a chance," she whispered. I hugged her back, feeling the weight of years lifting. "Thank you for listening." My father offered his hand, which I took, feeling the strength in his grip. "We'll do better," he promised. As I walked out into the cold night, the snow had stopped, the sky clear, the stars shining brightly. It felt like a sign, a new beginning. I knew the path ahead would be filled with challenges, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was walking it with my family, not against them. The weeks that followed were filled with meetings, discussions, and legal paperwork. My lawyer worked tirelessly to ensure that my share of the property was recognized and that the family's estate was divided fairly. But beyond the legalities, there was a shift in our family dynamic. My parents made an effort to include me in family decisions, from planning the next family gathering to discussing future investments. One chilly evening, we gathered at the house again, this time not for confrontation but for celebration. The living room was transformed, the fireplace crackling, the Christmas decorations now a symbol of unity rather than division. My mother had prepared a feast, and the table was set for all of us. As we sat down to eat, my father raised his glass. "To new beginnings," he said, his voice filled with a warmth that had been absent for so long. "To family," I echoed, raising my glass in return. The meal was filled with laughter, stories, and the clinking of glasses. My brother, once my adversary, now shared anecdotes from his life, his eyes meeting mine with a newfound respect. My parents listened, their faces filled with pride and regret, a mix of emotions that spoke of their journey towards understanding. After dinner, we moved to the living room, where the family portrait hung. It was a reminder of what we were striving for. My father stood in front of it, his hand on my shoulder. "We're getting a new one soon," he said, his voice soft. "One where you're not just in the background." I smiled, feeling the weight of years lifting. "I'd like that." The evening ended with us gathered around the fireplace, the warmth of the fire and the warmth of our renewed bonds filling the room. It wasn't perfect, and there were still issues to work through, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged. As I left that night, the stars were still out, but now they seemed to shine brighter, a reflection of the light we had rekindled within our family. The road ahead would be long, but we were on it together, a family reunited, ready to face whatever came next.